I am Anna Pritchett. I'm State Advocacy Director for AARP Alabama. I also serve on the Alabama Supreme Court Commission on Adult Guardianships and Conservatorships as their vice chairman of their board. I also serve as the chairman of the Center for Adult Guardianships and Conservatorships in Alabama. Alabama Guardianship is a nonprofit statewide organization working with many stakeholders to ensure that people who need guardians or conservators have choices and know what their rights are, and that if they don't need a full guardianship, that they can find alternatives to guardianship. And we're using good data to make decisions for the state, what the rules are for those guardians and conservators, and also making sure that people who don't need full guardianships have other alternatives. For many years, we've worked on a task force to prevent elder abuse in Alabama, and we've been very successful. And as we were moving along, we started noticing more and more questions coming in about adult guardianship and conservatorship. I know everybody's familiar with Britney Spears and what she went through. So we actually worked on a grant with the Alabama Administrative Office of Courts to bring in. It was called the WINGS Group. WINGS is the grant that we got. It was Working Interdisciplinary Networks of Guardianship Stakeholders. We started pulling people together and talking about challenges within the system, what needed to be encouraged to change or tweaked a little bit, where there were challenges, and we started making policy recommendations as we met and went forward. Once that grant went out, that's when we worked with the Supreme Court to create the Center and the Commission for Adult Guardianships and Conservatorships. So a guardianship is control over someone's decisions based on their person, where conservatorships is a guardian over their money and finances. A guardian has control over whatever the court mandates or decides needs to be driven by the guardian. So it is everything, and it is a permanent decision that is only changed by another decision of the court. Conservators are in control of a person's money and finances. Like a guardianship, it is designated by the court, and it can be limited. It can be specifically for certain things. And a lot of times, I guess, it is to manage all of that person's finances and money decisions. You have to go through the court systems. People can file for a guardianship over another human being. The court goes through a process where they evaluate and determine that that person does not have capacity to make their own decisions with regard to their personal decisions or their financial decisions. The judge makes a decision whether or not creates an order that says that a guardian is needed, and they find and designate a guardian or conservator. The mission of the organization is to develop resources, provide education and training, research and data, and to coordinate all overall efforts statewide to improve Alabama's guardianship and conservatorship systems as a means of providing an appropriate decision-making support for the person. So if you don't require a full guardianship, that there are alternatives that are put forth while still giving the supports and making services or protection services available to individuals, but really making guardianship and conservatorship a last resort, because you do lose your rights to make those decisions, even though a good guardian or conservator will always include you in those decisions. Supported decision-making is a method where a person maintains their ability to make their own decisions, but really uses a strong plan and group of advisors to help you make informed decisions with trusted advisors. And the most important part is that you actually retain the right to make your own decisions. Depending on the structure, it really helps you pull together trusted advisors to help you make informed decisions, and also creates almost an atmosphere of, I want to say checks and balances, but support. So you know that you're depending on a strong team and using a process to support your decisions. I think when you bear down to the very basis need of protecting someone's civil rights and then caring for someone who no longer has capacity to make decisions for themselves, is that they're protected and that their wishes and desires and needs are all being addressed, and still with the respect and dignity that they deserve as human beings and as Americans. I think it's just critical. And as our population is getting older and we're getting more and more people who may be facing things like Alzheimer's disease or different challenges with their memory, the answer is not always to remove their ability of making decisions, but how can we help them determine what supports they need and then still protect their autonomy and independence as they age? Many times you find folks that end up in emergency rooms or in medical situations or have had some fraud perpetrated. There are just so many ways and so many different stakeholders involved in the process where it can come up. We had just the other day a doctor from the UAB dental clinic come in and talk about their challenges helping people maintain their dental health who are homeless. And because they may or may not have a guardian who's present, providing healthcare alone is difficult. So you get people who are in the hospital and are not really sick enough to be in the hospital, but don't have the capacity to kind of drive their own care, and where you draw that line. Typically, you have someone petition the courts, but there are also organizations that deal with folks all the time that have to help out or confront this issue. And so it's a real challenge, and the probate courts have a lot on their plates. And so it can be complicated, and hopefully families and loved ones, many neighbors and friends step in to do it for them. And it can be an overwhelming job as well. That's why at the commission and the center, we were working for resources to help people do a good job. A lot of the time, I think it's just mistakes that you don't realize that are happening because you're not prepared properly to take on that kind of challenge. We're building several efforts to build supports for the center, either through donations or even helping us identify opportunities to speak publicly, to train people and walk them through the process. I know several of our members of the commission provide free classes and workshops. We've got great publications online and that are printed that can help people go through the process, as well as, of course, donations to the center. We're also trying to generate changes through policy changes and recommendations to the legislature to help refine and, I guess, modernize the system, because it is quite antiquated. A lot of Alabama's laws haven't changed since, gosh, it's been 40 years. So if you're really interested, please email us or contact us on our social, Alabama Guardianships. You can find it if you Google or go on social media. And we really appreciate anybody who's willing to stand up and tell their story personally and how it has affected them, good and bad.